Hi, this is Bill Carmody with a review of Sonata Form. Here are the terms for this chapter. Not all of them are used for every piece, but you should know to what they all refer. Sonata Form, or Sonata Allegro, is the most important form in tonal music. It evolved from binary form at the end of the Baroque era in the late 1700s and has been widely used ever since. It is still used today. Here is the basic overview of sonata form, although composers feel free to modify it in all sorts of ways. Still, the fundamental structure is upheld. The exposition introduces the themes. The development section develops and fragments those themes, and the recapitulation replays the original melodies. There may be an introduction before the main theme is heard. The introduction is often slow in contrast to the allegro tempo of the movement proper. Next, we have the development section. This is where the composer shows off his cleverness in developing the material already introduced. The material may be a theme fragment or a motif from the introduction or a transition. Occasionally, but rarely, a new theme may be introduced during the development section. The recapitulation needs to balance the exposition, so it's about the same length. In the classical period, this form was so commonly used that the audiences knew what to expect. Composers might surprise the audience by playing the themes out of order or in an unexpected way. Today's audiences wouldn't even notice, but those tricks were considered quite clever in the 18th century. So, if in your analysis you find that Haydn or Mozart goofed, it surely was intentional. This is the most condensed sonata form I've found. The entire development section is only 8 measures long, yet it still has 2 sections. The exposition is 15 measures long. Measure 8 is both the last measure of the main theme and the first measure of the sub-theme. The second phrase of the recapitulation, measure 28, is inverted to avoid modulating. It is hard to find examples of sonata form which follow the form exactly as described. Every composer throws in some little variation to make the work fresh and unique. However, to get a real appreciation for large forms, you need to follow a score while listening to a recording. The website imslp.org has thousands of scores that you can download as PDF files. Train your ear to identify the themes, the transitions, and sections of these large format pieces. Here are some already analyzed scores for you to follow. 2 of them are in your text, and 3 of them are in the Music Solutions, but there are also other examples on the web. Mozart wrote his 3 greatest symphonies, 39, 40, and 41, in less than 2 months in the summer of 1788, 3 years before he died. These are the highest expression of the classical technique and the universal quality of Mozart. This symphony has an undercurrent of introspection with moods of melancholy, defiance, and gloom, but these are universal rather than personal feelings. So let me walk you through this first movement. We start off, as expected, with the exposition. Main theme, we're in G minor. It's a G minor symphony. Then he has a repeat of the main theme before he has a transition to the sub-theme. In fact, the transition is in 2 different parts. And then we have the sub-theme after a little one measure rest. And now we're in B flat, the relative major of G minor. He repeats the sub-theme, but it ends differently than the first time. The first time he has a sub-theme, this chromatic line ends on a C minor chord, and then the second time the same chromatic line ends on an E flat 7 chord, which is a 5 of A flat, and so on. And then he gets down to the closing theme, which is extended and then goes into a codetta, and then there's a repeat of the codetta, and then there's another codetta. It's not a new theme, it's the same material. And finally a third codetta that brings us to the end of the exposition. Normally this is repeated, but in this recording I've taken it out so you can hear how those sections fit together. So now we have a short 3-measure transition from G minor to F sharp minor, where the development section starts. Section 1 is from the main theme. Section 2 is also from the main theme, and now in the key of E minor with a counter melody. And then he bounces around keys like crazy, which is what you do in a development section. Section 3 starts down here, measure 135, and we are in D minor at this point, and it still is developing mostly the main theme. There's a section 4, a retransition, so it's modulating back, and the retransition brings us back to the key of G minor for the recapitulation. The recapitulation starts off the same as the exposition, but notice in this measure, where this little asterisk is, that in the exposition, we went from this E flat down to the C minor, but here, in the recapitulation, he goes down to D minor. So he's brought us in a new key, and D is the 7 of E flat, and the transition is in the key of E flat, and that's different than the exposition. And now he goes through this interesting chord progression, a lot of sequencing. He's all over the map here, and he finally gets to this D chord, and then the 1-measure rest for the sub-theme, and now we're in G minor, which is where you would expect to be. Although the first time we heard it in the exposition, the sub-theme was in B flat, and now it's in G minor. So it looks very similar, sounds very similar, just in different keys. There's a repeat of the sub-theme and the extension, same as in the exposition. And we have an extending phrase, and then the closing theme, and then the codetta 1, repeat of codetta 1, then to codetta 2, codetta extension, codetta 2 has an extension. Then we have from the development section 3, a little quote, and that brings us to codetta 3, and the piece ends. Notice all the dominant to tonic, G minor, D7, G minor, D7, G minor, D7, G minor, D, and so on. So that it really does sound finished when the whole piece is done. All right, let's listen to it. little changes. Back to the recapitulation. Little change. Sounds like okay, here's the list of the topics again. You should have an idea of what all these topics are. I didn't stress monothematic, but if you go back to the slide that talks about the exposition, you'll notice that Haydn sometimes uses the same theme for the sub-theme as he does for the main theme, just does it in a different key and in a different way. And that's, so he's using one theme, that's monothematic. Now, here's your assignment. Look in the text for assignment 8.1, and they have an example of how to analyze on page 152. So you analyze this Beethoven Sonata in F minor, and you say, just like they did in the book, where the theme 1 comes in, where the transition happens, what measure does it, what key does it go to, all the details, and then you can bring your homework assignment to class when you take the test, which is going to ask about details about this piece, but there won't be enough time during the test to actually do the analysis in class, and so you need to do the analysis ahead of time. Anyway, that's the end of it. Hope it all helps. Talk to you later. Bye.